At 5:30 a.m., my parents left my grandma at my door. Like she was trash so they could keep their golden boy safe. They came back a year later pleading, but she wasn't the same burden anymore. Hey, Reddit. I, Charles, a 35-year-old man, went outside one morning and saw my grandma, a 75-year-old woman, sitting outside my gate with 2 broken bags and no idea why. I thought something might have gone wrong. I looked at the security camera tape and what I saw made me very angry. My parents, who are 56 and 57 years old and male and female, and my golden boy brother, who is 31 years old and male, learned very quickly what happens when you treat family like trash. That morning, my phone was buzzing like it wanted to get away from the nightstand. I thought it was spam or one of those stupid group chats my cousin never stops talking in. I didn't even look at the caller ID. I just hit the screen and said hello in a sleepy voice. That's when I heard Bruce, my neighbor's voice. I imagine your grandma is sitting outside your gate, Charles. I didn't get it at first. I simply blinked. What? Been there for approximately 20 minutes? 2 bags with her. She is just sitting there. I sat up upright in bed as if someone had poured cold water on my back. Are you sure it's my grandmother? I've seen her before. It's her. She hasn't changed. I didn't even say goodbye. I just hung up and sprang out of bed. When my wife Violet spotted me tearing through the wardrobe to get a hoodie, she woke up. What is going on? She murmured. I was already at the door. My grandma is outside, sitting on the ground. That drew her attention right away. She was just behind me. At 5:30 in the morning, we opened the front door and found Grandma Lorraine sitting on the cold concrete like she was waiting for a bus that wasn't coming. There were 2 broken old luggage next to her. One had a piece of paper folded up and put in the handle loop. She wasn't weeping or yelling. She was just staring at the ground like she didn't know where she was. Her face was pale, and her hands were shaking a lot. She didn't even look up when we got close. I ran over. What are you doing out here, Grandma? She didn't say anything. I reached down and touched her arm, which was as cold as ice. Violet was already opening the front door again and turning up the heat inside. She helped me bring Grandma inside while I got the baggage and the strange folded note. We put Grandma in 2 blankets and turned on the heater. She still hadn't spoken. Violet sat next to her on the couch and rubbed her back while I opened the note. It said, "We thought this was best. Please understand." That was all it said. Just that. No names, no explanation. I looked at the paper as if it would change if I blinked hard enough. It didn't. That's when it hit me. This is what my parents did. My own mom and dad left my 75-year-old grandma at my front door like she was old furniture. They didn't want any more. As I stepped up to the security monitor by the front door and brought up the film, my hands were shaking. I scrolled down till approximately 5 a.m. And there it was, just like that. My dad's SUV came up silently. He walked out and opened the back door. Mom helped Grandma. They put the luggage next to her, didn't say anything, and got back in the car. They left like they were late for breakfast. They just left without saying goodbye, hugging, or knocking on our door. I felt a deep, simmering burn in my chest, like the kind of fury that isn't loud but is there to stay. I called my dad, but he didn't pick up. Nothing happened when I called again. I called my mom, but it went straight to voicemail. I tried both of them a dozen more times, walking back and forth in the living room like I was going to wear a trench in the floor. In the meantime, Grandma finally said something. It sounded like she hadn't talked in a long time. "I'm sorry for coming here like way, Charlie. I didn't mean to bother you both." I almost dropped the phone. "No, Grandma. Don't say that. You're not bothering anyone." Violet leaned in and nodded. "You may always come here." I asked, "Why didn't you knock? Why didn't you pick up the phone?" She gazed at her hands. "Didn't want to bother anyone. I thought that eventually someone would come out." I sat down across from her and tried to keep my voice steady. "Did they tell you why they let you go?" She thought about it for a moment before nodding. "Your dad packed my things last night. He said that Tyler and Olivia were coming in and that the house would be too full." I blinked. That's all. No strategy, no warning. She shook her head. He stated it wouldn't last forever, only until they got used to things. And they just left you out in the cold. No answer. She turned away again, not crying, but very silent. The next morning, we all ate breakfast together. Well, I tried. Grandma just sat there with her mug in her hand like it was a lifeline. I informed Grandma right away. We're going over there today. I want answers. She looked unsure at first, but then she nodded. Okay, but I don't want to fight. It's too late for that. I called in sick to work. Violet did the same thing. We put Grandma in the car and drove to my folks' house. I could already feel the anxiety building in my spine as we drove into their neighborhood. A white moving truck was parked outside their house, and Tyler was standing next to it, laughing about something with Olivia. The rage that had been building all morning. Yes, it began to boil. I parked a little ways up the street, not because I had to, but because I didn't trust myself to pull into their driveway without hitting someone's bumper. We moved slowly approaching the home. Tyler saw us first. When he met Grandma, his smirk went away right away. Olivia's face fell like she had just been caught doing something wrong at church. Neither of them spoke as we got closer. They just nodded stiffly, as if we were strangers, not kin. My folks were inside, acting like nothing was going on. I didn't say hello. You threw her away like trash at my gate. My dad stared at me. No feelings. Just the blank look Dad used to give me when I didn't cut the grass. Yes. Is she still with you? What's wrong? My jaw hurt so much that it actually broke. I yelled, the problem is that you left her outside in the freezing cold at 5:30 in the morning. Mom put her coffee down in a dramatic way. We are not going to do this, Charles. We didn't have a choice. No choice? I looked at Tyler. You couldn't rent a place for a couple weeks in a hotel or Airbnb. Tyler shrugged as if it were clear. I'm not going to pay rent when we can stay here for free. It's family. Yes, I said. Family. Isn't that what this is about? Mom leaned forward and spoke quickly, as if she were attempting to explain a spreadsheet to a young child. Tyler and Olivia are new parents. You know how stressful it is, Charles. They needed something stable. There were too many people in the house. Your grandma. She's simply too much for me these days. Violet blinked. Is that too much? Mom waved her hand around. The sound. The TV is too loud. She doesn't remember things. Always leaving the stove on. We were getting worried about fires. In all honesty, we were helping her. You have more room anyway. I couldn't think of anything to say for a second. Do you really think leaving your mother-in-law alone in the dark and cold is a good thing? Dad finally said something. We won't let you judge us for making a tough choice. We didn't just kick her out on the street. She's with you. You didn't even knock. Finally, Olivia spoke up, her voice faint as if she didn't want to be accused. We warned them not to go about it that way. I wanted to call first, but they said you would get it. I made Tyler angry. You just stood there and let it happen. He put his arms across his chest. Come on, dude. You're being over the top. She wasn't happy at home anyway. She always has something to say. She can't get over the past. Everything is the same way it was when your grandfather was alive. We used to cook like this. Okay, we get it. I looked at him like I didn't know who he was anymore. She quit her job to help raise us. When your dad said he couldn't afford it, she paid your college deposit. For a moment, Grandma's fists clenched around her bag. She didn't say anything, but her eyes fell to the floor, as if she were remembering it too. He would hug her after supper and ask her to sit in the audience for every school performance. To him, she was simply furniture now. Not even the good type, simply the kind you throw away when you need space. Tyler rolled his eyes, and I added, thank you. That doesn't mean she gets to run the house now. She was making Olivia feel bad. Olivia tensed but didn't say anything. Grandma didn't say anything. She was standing there. Not a single word of defense. She looked like she didn't even belong in the room. That was enough for me. You all make me sick. Dad got up slowly. Be careful what you say, son. Violet got in between us. Watch your number. You threw away your mother like a bag of old clothes because your golden boy needed a crib. Mom stood with her arms crossed as well. We did what was best for all of us. No, I shot back. You did what was easiest for you. The air in the room felt really heavy, like no one wanted to be the first to blink. Tyler looked bored, like he was done with it. Are you done now? We have things to take out of the box. I stepped forward him without even thinking. You can't act like this is usual. You can't act like you're the victim just because you have to give up cable TV for a week to make room. He shrugged. You are already taking care of her. It worked out. I don't see what the problem is. All of a sudden, Grandma's voice came through. It was quiet, but it cut through the tension like a knife. I didn't want to be a bother. I quickly turned to her. You're not. Don't ever say that. Mom groaned as if she was the one who was tired of all this. We didn't want to make her feel bad. But sometimes you just get too old for things and people. I guess that was the last straw for Violet. She looked at my parents and remarked, You outgrew your mother-in-law. Dad got angry. Get out of my house right now, or I'll contact the cops. I laughed. I really did laugh. Are you going to tell them you kicked your old mother out in the cold? He pointed to the door. Out. Violet softly grabbed Grandma's arm. Let's go. We don't fit in here. We stepped over to the door. None of them tried to stop us. Not one apology, not one bit of shame. As I opened the front door, Mom called out, Don't turn this into some moral crusade, Charles. She's your responsibility now. I didn't look back, just said gladly. We walked out without another word. Outside, the moving truck beeped as it backed up the driveway like nothing had happened. As I helped Grandma into the car, I looked over at the house I used to grow up in. It didn't feel like home anymore. It just looked like walls with a roof sitting on top of selfish people. I opened the door for Grandma. She moved slow, like her bones were carrying weight they'd never fully unload again. Violet helped her with the seat belt while I stood there for a second staring at the house. I wasn't sad anymore. I wasn't even mad in the usual way. I was just clear. We drove off without another word. Tyler didn't come out. My dad didn't storm the driveway. Mom didn't call out some last guilt-soaked line. They just let us go like we were nothing. It was weirdly quiet in the car the whole ride back until I pulled into our driveway and turned the engine off. I'm filing a report, I said. Grandma blinked. You're what? I'm not letting that slide. What they did was illegal. She shook her head slowly. Charles, we don't need more problems. I looked her in the eye. They made you the problem. I'm just giving them consequences. Violet was already nodding. I'll drive you. Let's go today. Grandma sighed and looked away. It'll make things worse. They'll say I'm turning the family against each other. I shrugged. Let them. If they cared about family, they wouldn't have dumped you on concrete before sunrise. We helped Grandma inside, made sure she had lunch and her meds, then got her settled on the couch with Sophie. They were already clicking into that weird rhythm. Sophie asking her stuff like, Did you have TV when you were a kid? And Grandma just laughing like nothing had happened. Before we left, Violet sat with Grandma while I grabbed my keys. That's when she said it low, like she wasn't even sure if she meant to say it out loud. You know, I let them think I was slipping. It made things quieter. I paused. They said I was forgetful, that I left the stove on. I didn't, not once, but pretending to forget a few things. It kept them from asking me for more. I didn't know whether to be impressed or heartbroken. Maybe both. Once they were set, Violet and I got back in the car and drove to the local station. It wasn't far, maybe 20 minutes, but it felt longer with everything running through my head. I wasn't just doing this to make a point. I was doing it because I couldn't unsee what I saw that morning. I couldn't unknow what kind of people raised me. We walked into the precinct. The place smelled like old coffee and floor polish. A guy behind the desk asked what we needed. I need to file an elder abandonment report, I said, clear and direct. That got his attention. He stood up and grabbed a clipboard. You the primary caretaker? Yes. He led us to a small side office. 10 minutes later, a detective named Blake came in. Mid-50s, graying temples, Kind of guy who looked like he didn't trust a single word until he'd verified it twice. He sat down, looked me dead in the eye. Tell me exactly what happened. I didn't ramble. I laid it all out step by step. The 5:30 a.m. drop-off. The security footage from my home camera. The note shoved through Grandma's suitcase. Her age, medical conditions, and financial contributions to her son, aka my dad, their refusal to even ring the doorbell, their threats when I confronted them. Violet backed me up with specific times and what Grandma said afterward. I showed him the text history. My 20+ unanswered calls to both parents. I even included Tyler's smug texts hinting that they were going to get some peace soon. Blake wrote it all down. Then he looked at me. You have that security footage? Brought a USB copy. I slid it across the desk. Good, he said. This isn't just abandonment. This looks like long-term financial exploitation. 2. I raised an eyebrow. Go on. He leaned forward. If she's been giving them her benefits and they still threw her out, especially without a care plan, notice, or emergency, then this isn't just immoral, it's criminal. Blake paused, then picked up the phone and called APS, Adult Protective Services. We waited maybe 25 minutes before a woman named Grace walked in. Late 30s, sharp eyes, nonsense energy. She introduced herself and sat with us to review the report. When she heard how they left Grandma, her whole face changed. This is serious, she said. She could have been hospitalized from the cold. You're saying they made no arrangements? Nothing, I said. Not even a phone call. Grace looked at Blake. We need to do a wellness check on the home she came from. If the other parties refuse to cooperate, we escalate immediately. I signed off on the statement, gave them Grandma's doctor's number and full history. Grace scheduled a home visit to our house for the following week. We'll confirm she's safe and stable. Based on that footage and the circumstances, we may push for a court summon. Before we left, Blake looked me in the eye again. Most people don't report this stuff, he said. It's easier to just stay mad and quiet, but you're doing the right thing. I nodded. That's what I do. Back in the car, Violet smiled. You know what? I think you kind of scared him. I laughed. Good. When we got home, Grandma was napping on the recliner. Sophie had drawn her a picture of a cat and taped it to the wall above her. I stood there for a second just watching them. I didn't feel like the kid who grew up in that old house anymore. I felt like the man building the new one. That night, I blocked my parents' and Tyler's numbers. Not because I was running, but because they didn't get to barge back in when they felt like pretending to care. This wasn't a timeout. It was a full-on lockout. The next morning, I got a call from a restricted number. I ignored it. It rang again 5 seconds later. Then I got a text from a new number. You're seriously going to take this to court over one decision. You're destroying this family. Tyler. I didn't reply. I took a screenshot and added it to the report file. 5 minutes later, another one. We didn't even do anything wrong. You'll regret this. That one got a reply. I typed back, you'll regret underestimating me. Then I blocked it, too. By that point, I wasn't even mad anymore. Just amused. It was like they thought texting, you'll regret this, was going to make me sprint to the courthouse and beg them to take Grandma back. I guess when you spend your whole life thinking you're the center of the universe, consequences feel like betrayal. Anyway, I moved on. The week rolled by fast. Grandma settled in like she'd always lived here. Sophie started calling her roommate Lorraine, which made her laugh for the first time in weeks. Violet got her a heated blanket, and I ordered one of those massage recliners off Amazon. Not to spoil her, just to give her the bare minimum she never got before. Grace from APS came by midweek. She inspected the house, asked Grandma a few questions, made sure she was safe, clean, and not sleeping on some air mattress in the garage. By the time she left, she looked almost relieved. I've seen too many of these cases go the other way, she said, glad to know she ended up somewhere good. That Friday, I got the email. Preliminary hearing scheduled. Elder neglect, abandonment, financial misconduct. Location, County Courthouse. Date, Tuesday, 9 a.m. I didn't need to prep. I'd been prepping the second they decided to make her someone else's problem. Tuesday came and I walked into that courtroom like I was clocking in. Violet at my side, calm as ever. Grandma held on to my arm, not because she needed support, but because she wanted to walk in with me. Across the room, my parents, Tyler, all sitting in a tight row like they were auditioning for a reboot of Dysfunction the series. My mom looked like she hadn't slept. My dad looked pissed. Tyler looked like he'd rather be anywhere else. Probably thought this was going to blow over with a slap on the wrist and some dramatic monologue about family ties. Nah. The judge walked in, older guy with steel gray hair and an expression like he didn't suffer fools or long-winded lawyers. Introduced himself as Judge R. Kenley, straight to business. Mr. Charles Bennett, he said, looking over his glasses. You're the complainant. Please state your case. I stood calm, clear, no dramatics. My parents dropped my grandmother off at my house. Didn't call, didn't ring the bell, left her with 2 bags and a folded note. It was 38 degrees that morning. I passed the printed photo of the note to the clerk, then the USB with the footage. The footage will show them driving off without saying a word. She sat there alone for 45 minutes before I found her. They didn't try to follow up. Didn't respond to 21 calls. I also have proof that for the last 3 years, she gave over $1,200 a month from her Social Security and pension to help them with bills. The judge nodded slowly. Do they have power of attorney over her finances? No, sir. Any written notice given before she was removed from their home? None. Just the note. Saturday. Then it was their turn. My mom stood up like she was about to defend her dissertation on advanced victimhood. She opened her mouth and immediately started crying. Like right on K. We just wanted what was best. Lorraine. She was becoming difficult. She'd argue over everything. The TV was too loud. She forgot stuff. Olivia was overwhelmed with the baby. The judge cut her off. I didn't ask about Olivia. I asked whether or not you gave legal notice, medical consultation, or filed for alternative housing before evicting a senior citizen under your roof. Dad stood up like he was going to fix it with some firm tone. With all due respect, Judge, we weren't evicting her. We were relocating her to another family member's home, a more appropriate one. I leaned over to Violet, whispered, did he just say appropriate like she's a broken vacuum? The judge heard me, cracked a smirk, then looked back at my dad. You dumped your 75-year-old mother on a sidewalk before dawn. You didn't relocate her. You abandoned her. That shut them up. Tyler stayed seated. He didn't say a word the entire time, probably for the best. His brain cell budget was already maxed out. Then came the part no one expected, the financial review. Turns out APS had done a full review of Grandma's deposits and withdrawals. The monthly help she gave them, not voluntary. There were transfers from her account the same day every month. Most labeled bill help or just plain Tyler. 0 receipts, no repayment, no accountability. Judge Kenley looked up from the report like someone had just spit in his coffee. You've been draining this woman's fixed income for over 30 months. And when she was no longer convenient, you discarded her. He sat back, folded his hands. The defendants are hereby found guilty of elder abandonment and financial misconduct. Silence, no gasps, no screaming. Just my parents sinking in their chairs like furniture you can't return. The ruling was swift. $3,000 fine. 12 months probation. No county travel without clearance. Court-mandated financial ethics course. Grandma granted permanent primary resident status at my home with restraining options pending her decision. Tyler didn't get named in the charges. He wasn't a legal guardian, just a freeloader with a weak spine and no say on paper. But something told me karma had him penciled in for later, probably in Sharpie. My dad then cracked. He stood up fast, loud. You're not my mother. No real mother would let her son be dragged into court. The judge banged the gavel once hard. Silence. Sit down. But he didn't. He pointed at Grandma like she'd betrayed some invisible contract. You raised a manipulator, he said. You raised a snake. That's when Grandma stood. She didn't yell. She didn't cry. She just looked him in the eye and said, "I raised a man who's standing next to me." "You raised yourself into a corner," the judge said. That was the real verdict. The court was over, and we left without looking back. Tyler kept his eyes down the whole time. Mom was still dabbing at her dry eyes with a tissue. Dad was frozen in place, as if he couldn't believe that being the head of the family didn't mean anything in front of the law. Violet took my hand in the parking lot. Grandma let out the longest breath I'd ever heard from her. "You okay?" I asked her, and she stared at me steadily. "I'm more than okay. I'm free." And yes, I believed her. We drove home from court without music, without small talk, just the sound of tires and a kind of quiet satisfaction. Grandma didn't say much. She sat in the back like a passenger who'd finally reached her stop. Back at the house, I ordered dinner. Grandma went to her room early, said she needed to think, which for her probably meant sitting quietly by the window like she always did when something was brewing. The next night, she called us into the living room. Me and Violet sat down. She pulled an envelope from under the cushion. No build-up, no big speech. I didn't tell anyone because I wanted to see how they'd treat me when I had nothing. I opened the envelope. Legal documents, deeds, account summaries, asset records. She had property in Santa Cruz, a chunk of money tied to old restaurant ownership and investments I didn't even recognize. Total net worth $51 million. All in her name, all clean. Violet sat up straight. I just blinked at it. "I sold the land my sister left me years ago. Grandma said that restaurant I worked at. I owned part of it. Silent share. I never told your father. He'd have sucked it dry. All of it's under my maiden name." She added almost like a side note. "I kept the paperwork out of the house, used a P.O. box and a different bank. Your father never had a clue." She said it like she was reciting the weather forecast. No drama, just facts. Then she handed over another set of papers. "I remember you two joking about opening a resort by the beach somewhere peaceful. You're now the legal owners of a coastal property in Monterey. Small place, 50 rooms, spa. It's yours if you want it." Violet stared at the papers. "This is real. Realer than the people I raised," Grandma said. We didn't cry or celebrate. We just sat there and let it sink in. Not just the present, but what it means. She had waited, watched, and made mental notes, and now she was rewarding what she saw. "I don't want to be praised," she said. "I just want to rest, and I want to know that my money isn't going to people who would trade me for a guest bedroom." I nodded. "This is a safe place for you, and we'll treat this gift the way you would." Smart and calm. We didn't leave our jobs. We didn't say anything. We waited. Violet and I drove to Monterey alone that weekend. The place was real, clean, and peaceful. A retired couple had been running it for years, hoping that someone would buy it and transform it into condos. They didn't inquire about money when we told them we were the new proprietors. They asked if we planned to keep the garden and the reading room. We stayed for 2 days, took notes, and asked questions. We didn't discuss about quitting our jobs the whole way back. We spoke about how to make it work without getting rid of everything. Violet said, "We'll give it time. Instead of blowing up the life we currently have, see if this one works for us." That's right. I told everyone, we'll do it like Grandma did, quietly, steadily, with no handouts or noise. That week, we didn't notify anyone. By Thursday, a distant cousin wrote, "Congratulations on Violet's Instagram post from our Monterey trip." That was the leak. The doorbell rang the next Saturday morning. I peeked through the hole in the door. My mom was carrying a pie. My dad, Tyler, and I were all behind her, and they all looked like they were going to a church benefit. Tyler even wore pants. Pants. "Hi, sweetheart," Mom said, as if nothing had happened. "We've been thinking about you and Lorraine," Violet said as she came up behind me. Grandma stood at the end of the hall with her arms crossed. "Can we come in?" Mom said with a smile that looked like it hurt. "We just want to get back in touch." "Reconnect?" I asked. Dad got in. It's been a while. We miss our families. Things were tight before. People uttered things they wish they hadn't. Tyler held up an album of pictures. We brought some photos. We thought Granny would like to see the baby again. Yes, the same baby that seemed to be allergic to old folks last month. Grandma walked forward, her face unreadable. Then she smiled slowly and sharply. She said, "You didn't care when I was freezing on the sidewalk. But now you want to get back in touch." Everyone was quiet. She nodded her head. "You can keep the pie, but the door stays shut." I shut it tight. "It's clean. No slam. Done." On Monday morning, I turned in the papers for a full household restraining order. Grandma didn't want it. I just did it. No pausing or thinking about it. On Monday morning, I brought the document to the courtroom, signed it in blue ink, and asked for a restraining order for everyone in my house. Grandma's name, mine, Violet's and Sophie's, and every other name that was important. No text to warn you, no extended explanations. Let them discover out the same way Grandma did when she woke up on the sidewalk. We got the confirmation later that afternoon. Yes, the sheriff's office would bring the notice in person. No contact, no hanging around, and no sneaking in through the back door to drop off food or some other sentimental item. It wasn't about getting back at someone. It was about having power. Our house, our rules, our calm. The doorbell rang 2 days later. This time, it wasn't them. Olivia was by herself. She stood on the porch with the infant in her arms. No luggage or strollers. Her eyes were just sleepy and her grip on the baby was tight, like she hadn't slept in days. Violet opened the door but didn't say anything. I walked up next to her. "I'm not here to beg," Olivia responded hurriedly. "I'm not here for money." Grandma heard her voice and came up behind us, leaning a little on the doorframe. Olivia continued, "I just wanted to say sorry," and their eyes met. She really cried. Didn't act like a vulnerable daughter-in-law. She just stood there with a baby on her hip and a look of regret on her face. "I didn't say anything when they kicked you out. I was afraid. I should have said anything. Sorry." Grandma didn't move right away. I just stood there and watched her like she was trying to read the fine print of a contract. Then she talked in a calm but sharp way. She asked, "Would you have still been quiet if I had frozen to death that morning?" Olivia didn't avoid the question. She merely gulped and answered, "I don't know, but I'd never forgive myself." Grandma nodded once. That was all. No hug, no grin, just a nod. Olivia said, "You don't have to forgive me. I just had to say it out loud." She turned around and left. "Wait," Grandma said. Olivia stopped moving. "Are you still with Tyler?" Number N. He lost his temper and punched a hole in the wall after blaming me for losing the inheritance. I left with Emily. I don't want anything from any of them. Grandma didn't answer right away. I just stared at the infant. She has enough diapers and formula. Olivia remarked, "We're doing fine. I work part-time at the clinic next to my mom's house. Give Charles your number. If the infant needs something crucial, it's simply her, not you. I'll lend a hand. But don't come back here. Not because I'm rude. I just need to keep things tidy." Olivia nodded, wrote her number on a sticky note, and walked away without looking back. We shut the door. Violet turned her head. "Is that good with you?" Grandma said, "I'm better than I thought I'd be." She didn't tell me a fossard. That's more than I can say for most people. Later that night, I looked at social media. A big mistake. Tyler had written a passive-aggressive diatribe on Facebook about snakes in the family and individuals who change money. Not obvious. His comment section was a combination of sympathy and confusion. Some distant relatives said things like, "Didn't she raise you? And this isn't it, Tyler." A day after I posted that, my mom called from a different number. No answer. She left a voicemail that began with "Charles, please" and finished with "We're still your parents." I didn't bother to listen to the middle. A letter came in the mail that Friday. There was no return address, but the writing was my dad's. A real piece of work. 3 pages, front and back. It went from guilt trips to faux self-awareness to one line that really stuck out. If Lorraine is going to leave something behind, don't you believe it should be shared equally? That was the last nail. I scanned it, put it in the court file, and then took it to Grandma. She read the line, put the pages down, and said, "They still think I owe them something." Then she picked up her phone, called our lawyer, and said 9 words. "Let's finish the paperwork. I'm ready to sign everything." She had a notary come to her residence that afternoon. She changed everything in her will. Charles, the complete beneficiary. Violet was named. Sophie, trust in education. Olivia's infant has a separate, supervised fund that is released every month and parents can't access it. Tyler, my parents took him away completely. She even put in a clause. If anyone challenged the will, their part would go to a shelter in the area. Sharp, clean, and final. It was 2 weeks. No pounding on doors, no phony invitations, just silence. Then the paper trail began. We first heard from a shady lawyer that Tyler was trying to prove that Grandma wasn't mentally fit. We sent along the APS data, the court video, the medical notes, and the new will that was signed in front of a lawyer. The case was thrown out in 5 days. Then followed the false apology letters, which were big paragraphs from my mom about mending the scars and not letting bitterness govern our last years. She even said that maybe they might get the family back together over a lunch in Terry. I didn't even show it to my grandma. As soon as I read that line, I tore it up. She never wanted to get back together. She wanted to move on. Now she had it. She would sit outside with Sophie on the swing at night. They didn't say anything. They just sat there and watched the sky get darker. She didn't show off. She didn't shine with anger. She looked calm, like someone who had finally quit checking the locks on the doors since she knew no one was coming in without an invitation. I made a new sign for the front gate that weekend. No asking for anything, no apologies, and no entry. Grandma noticed it, laughed once, and remarked, "Might as well hang it in gold." I smiled. Don't tempt me. The next week, people heard that Tyler was back living with my parents, but not for long. 2 months later, they told him to go. It looks like he got into credit card debt to impress a new partner and then tried to borrow money from their shared account. He lost it when they said no, screamed, shattered a lamp, and hit a cabinet. They contacted the police not to report him, but to terrify him. It didn't work. He departed that night and hasn't come back since. Olivia, she kept her promise and went away. She never asked for more or came back without warning. The monthly trust Grandma set up for the baby worked perfectly. We received the reports. Formula, trips to the doctor, and childcare. Nothing fishy. My folks moved to a town over. A peaceful neighborhood. Not much of a profile. I heard they tried to go back to the local church. Not for long. People remembered the trial. People talk. Nobody forgot what they did. Mom stopped using the internet. Dad stopped bragging in all of the social circles he used to be in. They once tried to have a family get-together, but only 3 individuals came. And none of them stayed for long. They are alone now. Not because we messed them up, but because they did it to themselves. They made their own decisions. And for once, their choices came back to haunt them. Grandma, she's still here with us. Still gets up early and cooks pancakes that are too thin and coffee that is too strong. She doesn't brag. She doesn't have to do that. Now, her life speaks for itself. She gave me a sealed envelope last week and told me to open it after she was gone. Not before. I nodded. No questions. We don't really need the envelope, though. We already have everything we need. A stable, peaceful family that is based on something better than shame and duty. Family doesn't have to be blood. You only need individuals who are there when it matters. And Grandma was there for us when no one else was. So, we did the same thing. And the ones that couldn't will have to deal with that every day.